What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video, and of course we're back with KIZUNA Clash, now currently live. So the clips that you're seeing here on stream are from when we actually live streamed the KIZUNA Clash when it went live, and in this video we're showing off some teams that I kind of discussed in my KIZUNA Clash preparation video, versus one of the fights in particular. We did have to make some changes, and even the changed team that you do see in this video is really not like 100% a foolproof way to get through the content consistently, especially in higher levels. So that is something to worry about, honestly, because it's a really annoying fight, but it's just the way that I kind of built the team. I'll talk more about it once we get to it. But talking about this team, so we're starting off, of course, with the versus Sai team first. Because of the chain attack down that occurs here on stage 2, Uta is a really good choice because you can use her special on both specials of Uta to not only get the turn progress activated effect for multiple turns, but when you activate a secondary Uta special, you get a significant chain boost for 3 turns, which you can carry not only for stage 2 but also into stage 3. The turn progress activated effect giving significant buffs. But something to note is that past level 30, Jinbei will not remove the 6th turn of attack down due to his crewmate ability only activating if you have a fighter captain. So having some type of way to remove that enemy, the last turn of enemy defense, is going to be important for post level 30. But as for now, before level 30, the team will work without a hitch. So moving on to the secondary team here, this team, the little clip here at the start is a little bit erroneous, but the team that you see here does not require any key support, so you don't have to worry about that at all. But the way that this team is working is we are abusing Shirahoshi Manchiri V1. So with their special, we can remove 2 debuffs by 10 turns, and the really cool thing is we can use it to remove not only the chain attack down that we get on stage 2, but once we get to stage 3, we're inflicted with 5 turns of pain debuff, which is why normally you'd want to, use a bunch of specials on stage 2, carry them into stage 3, but because of Shirahoshi and Manchiri, being able to remove those buffs is very, very cool. Now, one thing to note about this team is that if you are using like the same units, you want to consume or get rid of all of these Semler slots here on stage 2, because you want to try and abuse the fact that you have Queen on your team, which can give you a full board of tandem slots, and you do need tandem slots in order to break through the enemy's barrier on Battle 3. If you don't do that, then of course getting through that barrier is going to be very difficult to do. So Shanks gives us attack boost, chain boost, color affinity via Queen, and then we've got Rayleigh Gaban for an orb boost. So it's a pretty solid team. Like, it's not going to do like billions upon billions of damage, but it gets around all the gimmicks, it does a decent amount of damage, and it's a solid team that you can use to get through the Sai variation of this quest. This final team that you're seeing here, I know not everyone is going to be able to beat it or to actually use this quest, use this team, but it is what I am currently using as my current one team versus all against all variations. Of course, I was extremely lucky to get Boa Hancock and the new rare recruit Shaki in my discount, not really a discount because there wasn't a discount, but the first multi of the KIZUNA banner, so that was crazy. So I wanted to try and find a way to build a team that wouldn't require changes across the board, and this is the team that I came up with. So we're using a couple of key supports here, namely one of the new supports that just came out from the Treasure Map Sugo Fest recently, which is the Sanji attaching to Nami, and it removes 2 turns of bind when we're inflicted with it. That is very key for a couple of these Kizuna fights. We've got that. We also have Halloween Ace attached to Luffy, which gives us 5 turns of bind removal whenever we're inflicted with it. We have also the Jinbei support attached to Shaki, so that when we use her special, orbs for our free spirit characters will be locked for 1 turn. It's a really nice support to have for sure. We do have Mr. 3 on Zoro, not really required at all. But we just kind of get to this last stage here after using Nami Karina to remove the resilience on stage 2, and then just giving a Hancock special for damage on that stage as well. But because of the special of Boa, we can actually remove the pain debuff, get a bunch of chain buffs, and then of course getting the tandem slot, and then we can have Shaki as well, which can give more tandem slots, remove the defense, extend the buffs. It works really well in terms of damage. So now we can go ahead and have a look at the int variation of the Blackbeard Kizuna, and we talked about this team a little bit in my preparation video, but there is a little bit of an error that I kind of oversaw. But the thing is it doesn't matter, at least not right now, but when you get to really deep levels, if you consistently use this team, you will need to find some changes. And what I mean by that is that we use the Whitebeard on stage 2 to get a 3-turn chain boundary, which is good because it's really nice to have a way to have chain lock on stage 2 and carry it into stage 3. However, one thing that I completely overlooked is that Stampede Luffy removes chain locks on your side of the field. So if you have a chain boundary or a chain lock on stage 2 that you carry into the final stage, Luffy's just going to remove it anyway. And the reason why I had this strategy was because the enemy gives you 1.1 chain lock when you reach the final stage. So realistically, you could actually just save Whitebeard and just use Whitebeard after Stampede Luffy's special on stage 3. So that's something that you could do, but the Skull and Mihal Recruit literally counters everything on this stage, which is absurd. They get rid of the bind, they make perfects easier to hit, and they also give you color affinity for 3 turns, giving us additional damage for not only stage 2, but also stage 3, and Stampede Luffy deal with the despair with his captain ability. And yeah, just that damage alone from Stampede Luffy, the color affinity boost, and if you have like some type of chain buff as well, just the damage goes absolutely wild with this team. And now having a look at the secondary team that I have versus the int variation, we're going to be using the Gear 5 hybrids because it's one of the best team comps you can build in the game. Now another really cool key character that you can use to combat the int variation of Blackbeard is going to be this Frankie that you see on the squad. So this Frankie's free to play. He's from a recent, not a recent treasure map at all, but from a really old treasure map. But his special counters a lot of the gimmicks, not only for stage 2, but helps a lot for stage 3. So the cool thing about Frankie is that he removes the increased defense that you see on stage 2, and he also gives us a 3.5 chain lock for 2 turns. So of course it would have been nice to carry a 3.5 chain lock into the last stage, but it's actually not that big of a deal, because Frankie, with the way that he's built, it just enables it so that we are bypassing the enemy's chain lock that they would have normally given to us on stage 3, because during the preemptive attack, Frankie's chain lock is still active, which is super good. And then if you activate any type of chain buff when you're on Blackbeard's stage, he's going to remove your beneficial effects. But it's really strange because removing beneficial effects literally doesn't worry about chain locks, because your chain locks are not counted as beneficial effects at all. So it's really cool. You can just use a chain boundary as your first special. I do make a bit of an error as I use Shanks' special first. What you would normally want to do is use Law special first and then use the Shanks special. So I use it in reverse order. Because it's level 1, it's not a big issue, but realistically that's something that you want to do. And also something that's really cool is you can have Yamato, which not only gives you the Wano slots, but gives you a chain boost. And because we have Wano, Law's chain boundary, stacking the boundary and the boost together, you get a lot of good ways to bypass that chain attack down. So now we can go ahead and abuse the Boa Hancock and Sharky characters on this quest. So the way that we're kind of getting around this one is we are activating a bunch of specials on stage 2. I say a bunch of specials, but it's really like not a hell of a lot. But by activating the Boa special on stage 2, that gives us chain boundary and tap timing chain boost. And then by activating Sharky special, it extends the duration of the chain buffs that Boa Hancock gives. And it also provides you with a color affinity boost. So it gives you quite a lot of damage just by activating the Boa and the Sharky special together. And because all of the buffs on your crew at that point last for 3 turns, you can just completely carry them all into the final stage. Meaning that the only thing you'd have to worry about is going to be like attack or boost or whatever. You do see the 2 key supports coming in from Sanji attaching to Nami, as well as the Halloween Ace attaching to Luffy. Those 2 supports super clutch for getting around the bind. There is going to be also the next boss fight we have a look at. There is also going to be some form of bind on that fight as well. And having those key supports is really good for bypassing that for this particular team. So by using Boa special, as we said, we get chain boundary, we get the tap timing chain, and by Sharky special, buffing those for the next turn. Then on the next stage after that, we just use a bunch of specials again to get massive buffs, of course, and then we just basically go through with it and just kill the enemy, because there's actually not a lot of gimmicks on the int fight. I do definitely feel like the int fight is the easiest of all of the KIZUNA fights this time around. There's not a lot of gimmicks you have to worry about, but as long as you have like a strategy in mind in regards to your chain buffs, that's really all you need to get through it. There is a little bit of despair as you see here. Boa does deal with that with her super class special. So now we get to a little bit of an awkward scenario here versus the strength variation, and I say it's the strength variation, but it's the multicolored Blackbeard health bar. Now this team is a little bit of an amendment from my preparation video. It's just because I completely overlooked the fact that I had like Int Marco on my team, and he isn't even getting any cooldowns on this quest, so that was a bit of a problem. But also I completely overlooked the fact that I didn't have a unit on my crew that had the enraged or provoked attack potential ability to remove 5 turns of increased damage taken. That is important for this quest, because what occurs is after you kill Blackbeard, or after you do damage on turn 1, the second turn of Blackbeard will inflict 30,000 damage to the crew, and if you have increased damage taken, I believe it's a 3 times damage, it ends up being 90,000 damage, and especially by using this strategy with the Gear 5 hybrids, it means that it negates damage reduction effects on your side of the field. So that's a big issue. There's no real ways to tank that damage very well, and the whole reason why I had Zoro and Sanji on the crew initially is because it transforms everyone into Slasher Free Spirit, and then we could go ahead and use Law Special to extend the duration of attack and all boosts by 1 or 2 turns, meaning that we could, on turn 1, activate a bunch of specials, do a bunch of damage to Blackbeard, the second turn will come, and we can just do damage once again, because the attack and all boost that we would have had would have been extended. So a little bit of an issue with this team. Yes, it does clear it, but I wouldn't say it's the most ideal team for clearing this content whatsoever. It's just the real issue of, getting around all the gimmicks, whilst also having one of every color on your crew, and then having some type of way to have damage for 2 separate turns, it is a little bit nuanced. Like, you need to make sure you're building your team effectively. I would not say that this is a well-built team, but as I said, it actually does still get through it, which is kind of crazy, because we could just, you know, use specials on the revive anyway, which is kind of nice. But anyways, yeah, we're going to be showing another team very shortly that is far superior, and a team you probably should be aiming to build against this content. So moving forward now with the secondary team versus the multicolored Blackbeard, Enma Zoro is just that guy. If there is content that has damage limiter on it, Zoro is going to be the #1 guy to go up against it. So using this squad here, if you're using Enma Zoro, you probably need to use Hiyori. You need to consume 10 Wano slots before you reach the 3rd stage. And if you don't have Hiyori, I would say it's borderline impossible for you to do that. By using Hiyori special on turn 1, we can conserve these Wano slots that we have. If you build your team a little bit differently, you probably don't need to use Hiyori special on that stage, but I wanted to just build it this way anyway, and it worked pretty well. So you'll see that after turn 1, we still have our Wano slots. We do also have Jinbei support attached to Bobbin. Bobbin literally is only here for this stage. I know you could definitely build better ways to get around this specific stage, but the threshold and the damage reduction is very annoying. So we're going to have Bobbin to remove those 2 defensive effects. Jinbei special locks the slots of our free spirit characters, and you do see that I do use Zoro special to give us damage. You don't really need to do that, but I felt like I wanted to do it anyway just to secure the kill. You do have to be very careful though. You do have to consume 5 more Wano slots here on this stage. So I was being very cautious in the way that I tapped to try and consume those Wano slots. Once you have these Wano slots consumed though, you can just go ahead and kill. And when you have that Enma gauge filled up, you are good to go, as you can change his captain ability to be the enraged, unsheathed form of the Zoro captain ability. And what that does is it makes damage limiters double. So this is only a 50% damage limiter. It doubles it to 100%, which means we can kill Blackbeard in 1 turn. And when Zoro is in his unsheathed Enma Zoro state, he is super effective against all types. So he is just the perfect captain to use in this content. And to wrap up the video, we're going to have my own 1 team versus all with Boa Hancock and Shaki Rare Recruit up against it. And yeah, it's awesome. This is where we can fully abuse the Love mechanic, the delay mechanic, as well as the petrify mechanic all in one, so that Blackbeard really doesn't do anything on that first turn of attacks. We do take 2 turns to kill Blackbeard, but due to all the delay, love, and petrify, he really doesn't do anything against us. He can't perform any actions, and that allows us to basically have a bunch of different buffs on that first turn, carry them for the second turn, and just kill him. So yeah, it is a little frustrating that, yeah, you could do it faster if damage limiter didn't exist, but they want to make it in such a way where Boa Hancock is actually really good against it, and they do actually do a good job at that. You know, Boa is a very good captain to use in this content. They definitely built this content with the character plus Shaki in mind. So you do see that we are using the Zoro special to remove the threshold. We have the Nami special to remove the Rainbow Shield damage reduction, and then we can just go ahead and kill. I do save the Boa special here, both Boa specials, because when Boa launches her special initially, you get Chain Boundary Tap Timing Chain Boost, but if you activate a secondary Boa, she says if you already have Chain Boundary, she gives you a 2-turn attack boost, which is very good, because we have to take 2 turns to kill the Blackbeard, and then it allows us to use the Luffy special to buff the attack boost, and also give us an all boosting effect. And yes, you know, we don't have an all boost for the revive, but realistically we could actually use the Rush Sugo special of Luffy on the revive anyway, so not really too concerned about that at all. Anyways, that is going to wrap it up from me. Thank you so much for watching the video, guys. If you enjoyed it, make sure to go ahead and leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. On that, guys, I will see you guys within the next video.